صوتك واضح، تفضل.
الحضور الكريم، أهلا وسهلا بكم. حللتم أهلا ووطئتم سهلا. نستهل ليلتنا بالتهنئة جميع المنتسبين الجدد. أهلا وسهلا بكم مجددا. نود في أمسيتنا هذه أن تعم الفائدة على كل الحاضرين، ولكي نشارككم معلوماتنا ونفتح لكم أفقا جديدة. نحن اتحاد المترجمين، اتحاد انعقد على العطاء والخير. نحضر، نخطط وننفذ، ولا يعرف الكلل إلينا طريق. في هذه الأمسية سنقدم لكم ورشة عمل بعنوان كات تولز مع الدكتور الأستاذ ماجد الطراونة، والتي تتضمن مقدمة عامة عن الكات تولز. ما هي الكات تولز؟ أهدافها وبماذا تساعد المترجم؟ برامجها وكيفية الحصول عليها، ومحاور أخرى سنراها مع الدكتور المحاضر. الدكتور ماجد الطراونة هو دكتور مساعد في قسم الترجمة في الجامعة الأمريكية في مادبا، وقد كان عضواً في هيئة التدريس في العام 2020. حاصل على الدكتوراه في اللغويات من الجامعة الأردنية في العام 2018. تتركز اهتماماته البحثية في مجالات علم اللغة من النظرية إلى التطبيقية. مهتم في النشر، في التحليل الخطابي وتحليل الخطاب النقدي وعلم اللغة النفسي واكتساب اللغة التدريسي واللغويات الحاسوبية. تعاون بفعالية مع الباحثين في العديد من التخصصات الأخرى مثل دراسات الترجمة والتعليم وتيزول وتافل. تتمثل حياته المهنية خارج الأوساط الأكاديمية بالترجمة الفورية والترجمة التحريرية، ولديه خبرة سنوات في الترجمة باستخدام برامج الحاسوب كاتولز مثل ترادوس وميمو كيوب وورد فاست وموزس، والتي أصبحت مطلبا علميا. الدكتور ماجد هو عضو في اتحاد المترجمين والجمعية الأردنية للمترجمين. أخيرا وليس آخرا، درب النجاح ما زال في أوله، لأن في الاتحاد قوة وحدودنا السماء. رابط الحضور سيرسل في آخر المحاضرة. نتمنى لكم أمسية ممتعة ومعلومات مفيدة. دكتور ماجد، تفضل.
Thank you very much for this introduction, and I'm highly honored to join you in this stream, and doing this job is a privilege, in fact, and also joining the union is something that is unique in today's world, because it is a rare opportunity for many of us to join such union. My lecture today is going to be simply about CAT tools, and I'm quite sure that many of you have heard a lot about CAT tools. And I'm just asking, if you have any questions during my lecture, please interrupt me and ask questions whenever you can. By the way, do you hear me very well? Am I received by you very well?
صوت واضح دكتور.
Brilliant. Okay. So let me just give a short introduction about what are CAT tools and what are the benefits of these CAT tools and how do we use them in today's life. So simply stated, as you know, CAT tools, they are software applications. They are software applications that support the translation of text from one language to another language. Basically, many of us use these CAT tools for submitting, editing, managing, and even storing the translation. Nowadays, in today's world of translation, many companies have become asking for a requirement that we need you as a translator or as a freelance translator or as in-house translator to be totally aware of CAT tools. And why do they need such CAT tools? Because they think that they can have lots of benefits for their job and basically and specifically for the consistency of the job they are doing. And I want you all to keep in mind this word, consistency, and to write it down so that you can use it, to use it and to remember it very well when you are doing any job in terms of CAT tools. So what do you mean by computer-assisted translation? What do you mean by that? Computer-assisted translation, in effect or in essence, it's a process of using a software to help human translators transfer the meaning of written text from one language to another. And I want to insist on, I want you to focus on one point, that these tools, they are helping and assisting tools, and they are not doing the translation for you. They are helping tools. They are helping tools, and they are not doing the job. They help you in doing your job in a very professional manner. And this will lead me to another important thing, that is the role of artificial intelligence, the role of artificial intelligence. Now, because of the usage of computers nowadays, and because of the this revolution in the age of technology, it has become like a fact that using these computers have become very important in many aspects of life. And nonetheless, and not at least, and to mention as well the word of translation, the word of translation. A short history about this usage of CAT tools. These CAT tools have been around in some time from the 50s of the previous century. And in the past couple of decades, these CAT tools has witnessed a great development, and they have had substantial impact on humans and on translation in general. At the beginning, these CAT tools were used on a single computer. They were not used, on networks. So they were kind of standalone softwares used on a single computer. On the passage of time, and because of the advent of the technology and networks and internet connection, now client-server tool, they have become like client-server tool in computer and company networks. So they have become like used in these networks in the company. So it's not something strange to find that in one company you will find like 20 translators or 30 translators working on the same file, and each one of them is using a different PC. So this has become like a requirement for many companies. Nowadays, as I mentioned before, today's CAT tools are mostly cloud-based, and you can retrieve any information from the cloud, and even your client can ask you, I want you to translate this segment with this number that you can find on the cloud on this and that. So this is very revolutionary in today's world. So this will lead me as well to another important topic. What does a CAT tool do? What do they do for us? As I mentioned before, they are engineered to automate translation. They are engineered to automate translation and to do lots of translation tasks. So a translator can input the text into the CAT tool software in the source text, and then the software itself will analyze these segments, will rephrase them, and put them into paragraphs, and then they can give you a counterpart translated text in the source, in the target language. Jamil, can I speak somehow in Arabic and somehow in English? Is it okay for you, or just one shot in English?
أكيد دكتور، ما في مشكلة، تفضل.
All right, because I feel like sometimes we need to have the meaning like transmitted in a good way. مثلا بيكون عندنا صفحة فيها graphs. It might include, for example, images, and these images might include sometimes words and sentences in English or in Arabic, and you want that image itself, or that photo, or that file itself to maintain the same format and the same images on the target language, and this can be done via the use of CAT tools. So they are like very important and very good tools that can help us as translators do the job in a very efficient manner. So the more content you translate, the more translation matches will software be able to reuse. So this kind of automation significantly speeds up the translation process and ensures the magic word, that is consistency with the past translations. So if you have like lots of past translations and you want to use them, you can use them through these CAT tools in a very efficient manner and in a very good way, so that you can benefit a lot from these CAT tools. Now, if I may throw this question at you, what is the difference between machine translation and computer-assisted translation? If I may throw this question at our audience, what do you think is the difference between machine translation and computer-assisted translation? Can anybody answer this question? because this might be one of the most important questions that many of you think of. Anyone can answer this question?
ممكن احنا دكتور نخلي المجال برفع الايد مشان ما يصير بس في تداخل، اذا في حدا بيحب
Yeah, of
يشارك.
course.
تفضل. معنا قبلة.
مساء الخير.
مساء النور، تفضلي.
Good evening. Yes.
Machine, maybe like when you translate in Google, you translate it as it is. But maybe when you are using CAT, like other computer systems, like maybe like websites, like or applications like reverse context, and then you translate and you use you look at the different contexts that previously was translated, and then you check and you compare and you choose the right thing to you that suits your situation or context.
All right.
This is what I think.
That's a good answer. Anyone
Thank
else? Thank you. Anyone else who can give me or tell us the difference between machine translation or yes, Mr. Muhammad? Mr. Muhammad, you are on mute. Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, Paris. I would like to say thank you for you. The question is about, we know that machine translation is a process by which the translation is performed by computer software. This means that, translation is performed automatically without human intervention or something like that. But tools, on the other hand, are software tools that can be used by translator or facilitators or facilitate. So
excellent.
That's what I reckon, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yes, Ms. Islam or Mr. Islam. Mr. Islam or Ms. Islam Mahmoud. Okay. So yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Dr. Majed, for this informative piece of information. I would like to say that machine translation is like Google Translate. It's like Mr. Muhammad has said, it's about machine-based translation without any human intervention. CAT tools on the other side focuses on checking and translating segments and giving the final product in a good shape or in a readable text.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, in fact, this is exactly the basic difference between machine translation or CAT tools. When it comes to machine translation, there is no kind of human intervention. So as they mentioned, Google Translate is one of these like products of artificial intelligence that can be used for translating any kind of text. And this is like machine translation, exactly. But when it comes to CAT tools, there is some kind of intervention from the, not only sometimes, there is a lot of intervention from the human being or from the translator in the text itself so that he can have it like in the best way possible. So this is exactly the basic difference between the two. If I may talk about now the common features of modern CAT tools. Now, the first thing, and this is the most important thing that I want you to keep in mind, that is translation memory. Now, these CAT tools, the most significant thing that we can have in them is a translation memory. And this translation memory, in fact, is a record of previously created translations. So if you, for example, translated like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 texts or whatever number of texts previously, you can use them in your memory and you can use them in your current translation. So this is one of the most important features of them. So these translation, they can be aligned with the source text, and you can use translation memory function to split large multilingual documents into translation segments, phrases, sentences, and paragraphs. And the second important thing that is term-based. What this feature is very important, and it's also known as translation glossaries. And expectedly, you will have with this training course with the trainer who is going to train you on this course. Hopefully, most of you will be learning something about term base. And term base here is a translation glossary, and they are in fact databases providing definitions or specific instructions for the use of translated terminology. So this is also of paramount importance to keep in mind. Other features include real-time collaborative teamwork. Can anybody know what do you mean by real-time collaborative teamwork? Can anybody have, for example, anyone has an idea about what do you mean by real-time collaborative teamwork? Anyone? Real-time collaborative, like collaborative teamwork. So when it comes to this point, for example, some translation companies or some companies, they might have like 20 translators who are working from, yes, Sally? Ms. Sally?
Yes, maybe it means that a team can work on the same project together as online team.
Yeah, exactly. So what we do normally at this level is that we have like this file on cloud, and we give the access to this file for many translators across the world, not necessarily in one place, but all over the world. And we can give them the same term base, and we can give them the same glossaries, and then we ask them to do the translation. So they can start working on this translation, and the CAT tools or the software itself can detect and can predict the exact term, and they can give it to the translators wherever they are. And also, they can approve the term, and they can agree on a specific term together so that it can be consistent. So I want you also to remember this word. Consistency is very important in terms of working on machine on tools. So, and the second one is the fourth one. In fact, one of the most important common features of modern CAT tools is the quality assurance functionality. The quality assurance, it means much like the spelling and the grammar tools on text editors or softwares, quality assurance, such as internal spell check, prevent all kinds of errors for creeping into your translation project. And this is basically because of consistency. So your client, as a client, for example, you will receive a very neat copy of translated work because of the quality assurance that is based on the consistency and the usage of memory that can be used in these CAT tools. So this is also a very important feature of modern CAT tools. Do you think, or do you have in mind any, for example, features that can be found in using these tools? Or if I may ask the question in a different manner, have you ever used these CAT tools? Have you ever used these CAT tools in your translations? We have. Anybody else other than Qubla? Qubla, what is the translation? What is the CAT tool that you used previously?
I usually use no. I guess that these days Google Translate Translate is has developed a lot, but the tool that I use most of the time is reverse context. And what I like in reverse context is that, as you said, it has a memory of the translations before. And one of the also features is that there is one button tells you that if you buy or if you subscribe or you pay for this website, and then you can get the document itself translated as it is with all of the formats and everything, and it gives you a trial with that thing, like for about I guess 2,500 words to be translated. After that, then you need to pay them. So it's nice. Also the synonyms.
I mean, but this is, I
other
mean, this varies from one CAT tool to another. We will talk about these, I mean, some of these CAT tools in brief shortly. But thank you very much for these points.
Thank
Now,
you.
what are the benefits of these CAT tools? Yani this lecture is a general one. We will get into the details with your trainer, hopefully very soon. But we're just giving you like an idea about what these CAT tools are. So one of the most important benefits of these CAT tools is, as I mentioned before, they are tools that foster consistency. As I mentioned before, we have 100 translators. They are working all over the world, across the world, from here and there, in Jordan, in Lebanon, in for example, the United States, all over the world. And they all must have the same term for translating, for example, for a specific, the same translation for a specific term. So this is very important tool. And many companies, they can reject your translation if they find it inconsistent. And because of that, many companies, and many clients, they stress on us to use CAT tools. And sometimes they name this kind of CAT tool in particular. Some of them, they might ask for Trados Studio. Some of them, they might ask for WordFast. Some of them, they ask for MemoQ. Some of them, they are asking for Moses, and so on and so forth. The second benefit of these CAT tools is that they increase productivity. If may I, again, throw this question at you, how do you think that these CAT tools can be a helping tool for increasing the productivity of your class? Can anybody answer this question? Can anyone answer this question? Why do you think that these CAT tools can increase the productivity of your translator? Yes, Sally?
It happened that many times the texts seem repeated in some parts, so I don't need to make a great effort to memorize some technical terminology or structures. So once I have just made it one time, next time when similar text appears, the CAT tool will help me to bring back what I have just added before.
Exactly.
But I have a question, please, regarding the scanned documents where there are seals and photos and something like that. Does the CAT tool help me to translate, to bring this to be translated easily by the CAT tool, or I have to revise the document after being opened on the screen of the Trados or MemoQ, for example?
Very, very excellent question. By the way, it is too early, I mean, to ask these questions, but I will answer your question anyway. Now, with the advent of technology, the previous versions of Trados, for example, or MemoQ, they were not able to read such files easily. But nowadays, with Trados 2022 and the 2021, they have had this, technology, and they can read, the text, even if it's there embedded as an image source. Basically, in 2016 and 2017 versions of Trados, for example, they did not have the ability to read even PDF files. But nowadays, they have become able to read these and give you a replica of a translated text in the target language, if this is what you're asking about. Sally, have I answered your question? Okay. Mr. Muhammad?
Yes, Doctor. So I would like to say that CAT tool helps us to produce high quality of translation or translation, and also save time, So we are not going to we are going to reduce the amount of time and effort needed to translate or doing something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they are a
Thank you.
helping tool for reducing time and effort. Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is in fact what they are all about. This is exactly what they are all about. They are, I mean, these tools are used in order to increase the productivity and at the same time reduce the time and the effort that is exerted by the translator. So I remember that when I started translating, like one document, it took me like 15 minutes to translate one page. And then after that, on the passage of the time, after using these CAT tools, I was able to translate lots of things with the same format, and it gives me the tables and the images and everything like on a flick of finger, which is amazing. So this is, yes, as I agree with you, this is one of the most important benefits of having these CAT tools. So another one is that CAT tools translation. This is the first one is, as I mentioned, one of the benefits is the consistency. Second is the productivity. The third thing is the flexibility. And how do you think that these CAT tools are flexible? How do you think that these CAT tools are flexible? I mean, if anybody works on these CAT tools before, why do you think and how do you think these CAT tools are going to be very flexible when used by translator? Anyone? Okay, I will answer this question. When it comes to flexibility, because of the amount of tools that are built in within these softwares, you can like change, amend, tweak something from here and there in order to fit your purpose. And also they are very flexible in terms of the editing process, So they can give you the flexibility of to change the font. For example, if you want to change the font of the translated text in the target language, if you want to change, for example, the picture, you can add it to some place or here or there using the tags that are found there. And I also want you to remember this word, that is tags, and you will have it with the trainer hopefully very soon in the course. But normally, I mean, these editing tools that can be found in these CAT tools, they are very flexible, helping tools that can help you and give you wonderful text in the target language. Another important one is that they are less costly. If anybody can answer me, why do you think that these CAT tools are less costly? Aside from, for example, buying the product at the beginning, why do you think that they are less costly? Suppose that we want to hire, for example, like we have like 100 pages and we need to translate them into, for example, into English or into Arabic. And how many translators do you think can do the job in 2 or 3 days? Rini Hamdan?
Hi, can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes.
I believe it's because CAT tools are time saving. So instead of wanting like...
Why do you think they are, I mean, less costly? Why do you think that they are less costly? Okay, it's because what you need is just to get that software onto your computer, and the rest is rock and roll. And you can easily access that software, and then you can do the translation in a very like speedy manner and with exerting very limited effort in doing that translation. However, if you need to translate 100 pages over the time, so you need, for example, to hire a translator, and the translator might ask for like $20 for a page, and then you can do the counting thing. So these translation applications are very helpful in terms in that they do not need you to pay a lot of money for translators in order to do that, because the machine itself can help you. And what you need to do as a translator is to intervene in the text, and you need to tweak it somehow in order to make it a plausible version of the source language that can be found in the target language. So it is less costly. So these are some of the most important benefits for having, this tool. Now, I just want to highlight one important thing before I move on to some of the most important CAT tools. Is the myth. In fact, I want to highlight one thing about these tools is the myth. The myth, it says, like many people think that these translation or CAT tools, they are like magical tools that can help the translator, not can help the translator, that they are accurate, the translation. Many people think that these translation tools, they produce translation at the press of a button, and this is not a fact. And they think that, many people think that using these tools, they believe that translators are unnecessary at all when they are doing this translation. And in fact, this is wrong. In fact, a great deal of work is needed when you are using these translation methods and the second translation tools. And the second one, there is, yes, there is big demand for translators and also for editors and even for post editors and sometimes for proofreaders in order to do the job. So with the with these CAT tools, translators can achieve a huge increase in productivity. And mostly such estimates turn out to be over optimistic or unrealistic. So I just wanted to highlight this point and to dispel this myth that is like found in the heart and the eyes and the spirits even of many translators. So don't think easily, don't think that these machine translations tools or these translation tools can help you do the translation in an accurate manner with that speed and with that accuracy. You need to intervene. You need to intervene and you need to intervene. They can make your life easier. They can help you if and only if you started working on them in a proper manner, and at the end they will give you a good result. They will give you a good result. So last but not least, I want to highlight some of the most important translation CAT tools that can be used in our daily life. And by the way, they have become a requirement, as I mentioned before, by many companies across the world. Some of them are mentioned like Trados Studio, and there are many versions. Nowadays, we are talking about Trados Studio 2022. And there is MemoQ, and MemoQ is different from Trados. And by the way, they are similar in terms that they are using translation memory in both of them, but the application themselves and the software is different, and the gadgets that can be found in one of them is different from the other one. And the flexibility and of one of them is different from the other one. You can find, for example, MemoQ more friendly than Trados, and they are easily accessed, whereas Trados is some kind of difficult and not easy to handle. You need to have lots of practice in order to grasp all the aspects that can be found in Trados. WordFast as well can be found in two versions. One of them is online, and another one that can be found on applications that can be set up on your laptop or on your device, and you can use it anytime you want. When I teach my students normally, this course, I always make them do lots of training on these CAT tools in order to master all the gadgets that can be found on these applications. And at the same time, I help them and I teach them how to use both machine translation and CAT tools in translation. But how do they, for example, use specific strategies and how to benefit a lot from this technology that can be available to our hands in doing exact and accurate translation. If I may tell you this, and I can be very forward, هلا في traditional translation method. كل المدرسين الترجمة الآن بيرفضوا الانترفير، يعني الطلاب انهم يلجأوا للCAT tools in translation in general, and they also sometimes they give hard time to students, and they give them low marks if they found them using a machine translation like Google or Reverso or whatever. But I'm always at loggerheads with them. I always fight with them, telling them, no, we need to teach our students how to benefit and how to use these translation. For example, these advanced translation technologies in order to make their translation a better one. And we need to tell them the most importantly, the strategies that can be used in doing the translation in a proper manner. أعطيكم مثال يعني على الموضوع. One of the most important things إنه مثلا some of you might find one word مش لاقي لها ترجمة مثلا. على سبيل المثال, how can I use, for example, machine translation or translation tools or CAT tools? كيف بستطيع إنه استعملهم هدول الماشينز in order to help me find an equivalent term for a specific word? What are these strategies? So we need to promote this. We are now living at the age of technology. فإذا احنا ما ركبنا الموج وطلعنا للمستقبل ونظرنا بعين الأمل للمستقبل and using these tools, and I think our translation will be backward, because the challenges for translation or for accurate translation are many, but I think we will conquer all of them if we are just employing these tools to our benefit. I think with this final thing, I think I'm done. I'm just asking if any one of you, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask, and I'm all ears. Thank you very much for your attendance, and thank you very much for listening. Mohammed Abdul Faraj, yes.
Thank you indeed, Dr. for this piece of information. It really makes sense. My question is, do you think that translation machines or such kind of translation machine affect the translators themselves in terms of doing such kind of translation? Because as I know that translation is such like an art, or you have to test the word and feel the word and you think more about the word and the context of the word. So do you think that this such kind of translation machine affect badly the translator or not? And thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your question. Now, in today's world, there is a lot of research. To be honest with you, there is a lot of research on this particular point, and I can refer you to many articles on this regard and how these machine translation, tools or machine translation in general, can affect the ability of the translator to be creative in sense. But I can assure you as well that these machine translations can provide the translator himself with many options that he can or she can use from which in order to make his translation a better one. فهو يعني بنقدر نحكي إنه this like it has like pros and cons. It has pros and cons depending on the translator himself. فإذا الترانسليتر كان مقتنع بالترجمة فاللي موجودة بالترانسليشن بالماشين, and he is like adopting this kind of translation in his target text, معنى هالكلام إنه هو بيعرف الصح أو الخطأ. أنا myself, when I'm translating a text, I do it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and then each time I change my translation into a better version. فالهدول بسميناهم بالبداية وإلى النهاية هم helping tools. They are not translators. They help you to choose. فهم بيضعوا كل الأوبشنز أمامك, and then you can choose the best option ever for your translation. And nowadays, this is the best thing that I can tell you about. إنه صاروا يتعاملوا مع الcontext. صاروا يتعاملوا مع الcontext. إنه we can find this word in this context, and it can give you a better translation than that word, and so on and so forth. فهاي الفكرة طبعا احنا دخلنا الآن في موضوع جديد اللي هو البراغماتكس وعلاقتها بالبراغماتكس وعلاقتها بالارتفيشال انتليجنس والكمبيوتيشنال لينغويستكس, ولكن this is a trend in today's translation, and we are trying to through our research to find out the best ways through which we can make our translation a better one. I hope that I have answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry for the next question. So you mentioned the advantages of CAT tool, but you don't mention the disadvantages of CAT tool. Can you mention the disadvantages, if you would mind?
I don't hear you. Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, my question is, in your previous speech, you mentioned the advantages of CAT tool, but you don't mention the disadvantages of
the disadvantages.
Yeah.
The most important one, yes, I mentioned them indirectly. I told you about the myth. I told you all about the myth of translation, about the myth that these CAT tools are translators. هون المشكلة الرئيسية إنه many of us think that these translation technologies in general, including machine translations and CAT tools, they can replace translators. ما وصلنا لهالمرحلة. Up until this moment, we have not reached this point, and this is the most important disadvantage of using these CAT tools. And your question that you have just highlighted is an evidence of this disadvantage of using these CAT tools. المشكلة الاعتماد الهائل منا كمترجمين على الكات tools. ومعظمنا بفكر انه these CAT tools, they are like an alternative, not alternative, they can substitute the translator, or they can substitute our minds, and this is not true. And this is the most important and significant disadvantage. Another disadvantage, if I may ask, or if I may say, is بعضهم بيكون غالي شوي. يعني the cost of having these softwares and these, this is costly sometimes. For example, يعني regular people, they cannot sometimes afford buying these softwares, whereas big companies, they can do that job. يعني هدول بشكل عام أنا حكيتهم indirectly through the lecture, but thank you very much for your question anyway.
Thank you indeed.
Yes, we have Ahmed Mursi. Mr. Ahmed, I see you raising your hand.
I'm trying to unmute. Good evening, doctor. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah,
yes,
I am a beginner translator, but I never used before CAT tools. What do you recommend for me, Trados or MemoQ as beginning to start a translation with helping of these applications? That's my question.
Thank you very much for your question. If you want to use now as a beginner, you can use WordFast. You can use WordFast because it has two versions, an online one, and it has the application, that software that you can upload it to your computer. This is very easy, straightforward, and ما فيها تعقيد يعني التفاصيل. So you can use WordFast. هلا في غيرهم، يعني احنا بدنا نحكي عن الماشين ترانسليشن ولا عن الكات تولز. اذا بدنا نحكي عن الماشين ترانسليشن this is totally different from CAT tools. يعني انا عاده بحب يعني اقسمهم اعملهم two different courses, and also I can in both of them teach my students. هلا بالماشين ترانسليشن I can teach my students the strategies that they can use in order to find, for example, accurate and good translation in machine. مثلا اذا عمركم فتحتوا على الوورد، على المايكروسوفت وورد، اذا بتروحوا على ريفيو بتلاقوا في اوبشن اللي هو translate, and then you can have two languages you can translate from into. هاي اوبشن ممتاز جدا وخيار رائع، يعني انا معظم الطلاب يعني بنستعمله، ولكن بندقق على ترجمتهم فيه. yes, you can start with WordFast. Then after that you want to become like a professional, you can use it. Yes, Ru'a, have I answered your question, sir? Ahmed? Yes, thank you. Ru'a?
Yes, hello, doctor.
Hi.
Hello. You said you spoke very fine in a very fine way about the benefits about using such tools and the disadvantages of using such tools. But there is I don't know if it's going to be a question or I want to emphasize a certain point that as an English graduate, I struggle a lot with those who use such tools when they translate whatever they have academically, and when you come and try to like show them that such translation is correct, is incorrect at some point, they argue back that no, this is machine translated text. How can you? How can I? How for us, the English graduates? How can I يعني نفهم حقوقنا, or we want to stay, it took us a long time to be at this stage of the language, and some just come and compare our degree to a simple machine. It's not a simple machine, but to a machine. It's like you don't know. They argue with you back that you don't know as much as the machine does, or how can you argue with the super machine? They argue that you are wrong when it comes when you try to correct their translation. So is there any way that we can have copyrights of some kind that in using such a tool, you're supposed to have a certain degree in English?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is debatable at some point.
Yeah. Thank you, Ru'a, for your question. Let me just highlight two things. أنا تركيزنا بالمحاضرة هو على الكات تول. هلا الآن بالكات تولز أنت ذكرتي فكرة الكوبي رايتس، رايت؟ هلا بالكات تولز specifically ترادوس في إليك كوبي رايت. If you don't want anyone to take a file that you've just translated انك تكوني شابكيته اونلاين على الكلاود, nobody can interfere and nobody can take your work from your site. This is one, and this is extremely very wonderful thing, and it's an advantage about Trados. ان شاء الله مع المدرب انكم راح تاخذوا كل التفاصيل هاي بالتفاصيل دقيقه جدا. الان نحكي عن الموضوع الاخر that you have highlighted, فكره انه احنا كترانسليترز simply stated you just show them a copy of machine translation and your translation. يعني ورجيهم ترجمة لجوجل مثلا. أنا can give you a good example. على سبيل المثال كلمة company. Company it means two things, for example, or three things or four. هلا بالميليتري sense company معناها سرية, والcompany معناها الرفيق, والcompany معناها شركة. هلا الترادوس مش ترادوس عفوا, الماشين ترانسليشن it has all these options. وممكن تعطيك أي option منهم. Simply you can show, for example, the owner or the one who is saying that this is better than this. You can show them this is like crazy translation. And this is what I always say. Machine translation is a crazy translation unless you intervene. فببساطة ورجيه نسختين, machine translation and your translation, and tell him to compare.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Good to hear. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
دكتور ماجد, اسمح لي بس نخبر الموجودين معنا انه احنا على الشات في نحط رابط الحضور, فاذا في مجال يسجلوا اسمائهم باللغة الانجليزية لحتى تصلهم شهادة الحضور ان شاء الله. نرجع نذكر يسجلوا برابط الحضور اللي انذكر او موجود على الشات. هلا رح نرجع نحطه مرة ثانية, يسجلوا اسمائهم والتفاصيل الموجودة, الاسم باللغة الإنجليزية والإيميل يتأكدوا منه 100% لحتى تصلهم شهادة الحضور إن شاء الله. تفضل, آسف على المقاطعة.
Any questions? Okay. I'd like to say something. The future يا جماعة is for these CAT tools. The future is for these CAT tools. يعني أحلى ميزة فيهم أنا بالنسبة لي استمتعت فيها إنه بعطوك نفس الفورم بنفس الشكل, نفس translated form from source language و target language, بعطوك فيها replica بس النص مختلف. تمام. العربي بيظهر عندنا بالإنجليش بالفورم. Yes, exactly. So this is very wonderful. أنا كنت أعاني لما أرسم بعض الأحيان التيبلز وأضع الصور وأنقلهم من هون وأحطهم هون. That was like an arduous work. But with these machine translation, with these CAT tools, my life has become easier. وقدرت أطور مسرد خاص جدا ل translation memory for many things, and it was very wonderful. Yeah. Do you have any other questions? Yes, Qubla? Kubla?
My question is that do we have these kind of applications that are for free in Google, in Play or something like that, so we can download them? Like we need the tools that we did not pay that much for them.
طيب هلا to be honest with you هلا هاي الCAT tools you can find them on the net, you can find them, but this is illegal by the way. This is illegal. هلا في بعضهم ممكن ينزل الCAT tools وبيعمل لهم كراك، يعني بيعمل لهم
Yes.
وبيمشي الحال. هلا but this is unethical يعني you know.
I know.
Yeah, this is you can find them. I think you can find them, but this is unethical.
Can you just give us share with us like in the chat number of CAT tools, like the ones that you talked about, so we can then go and look for them, or even not just only in the chat, maybe like
Miss Kubla, we cannot ما فينا نحن نساعد بموضوع أي شيء illegal. اوكي يعني احنا اذا ساعدنا بهذا الموضوع يعني احنا عم نفتح المجال لاي شيء غير قانوني. نحن فاتحين المجال اي شخص بيسجل مع بدوله الCAT tools he will get all softwares for free. اوكي بس انه اكيد لا انا ولا الدكتور ماجد رح نقدر نحن نساعدك بهذا الموضوع، نحن نقدم لك اي طريقه ممكن تاخذيهم بطريقه لو ليجل كان تكرم عيونك وما في اي مشكل، بس بما انه الموضوع حيكون illegal
بالبدايه انا كان سؤالي على الليجل، يعني في ليجل وانز فهمتي؟ في البدايه كان سؤالي عن الليجل، فبعد كده انه لا في انه حتى وإن كان في اللي يعني مش إنه مسموح إنما
نحن اللي بيسجل
مع my question was legal ones, like can we find them؟
ما في هو
you can find it بس as Dr. Majed said يعني it's illegal.
I know I got his point. I was talking like, do we find ones that we can use that facilitate translation but they are for free? Like,
okay, may I answer this question?
It's not like I know that most of the programs, most of the things that we like people to do.
As I mentioned before, you can use WordFast. It's online. It has an online version. WordFast. It's called WordFast. It's an online version, and but it is like a limited version. Okay, it allows you to translate to very limited number of like pages.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can train on.
This was my question.
Okay,
I know that the other illegal things like I'm not. I'm aware of that thing.
All right.
I know.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you, Qubla. Thank you.
Welcome.
Dr. Hanna. Dr. Hanna. مفيدة. Is مفيدة.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام.
I'm a beginner of medical translator, and I asked about when I'm using Trados. I noted that we have to put the first letter of the word translated, then the Trados will put the choice of the other words. I thought that يعني اول ما احط يعني يجي الكلمه هيبقى فيه التشويس بتاع الترجمه يعني من التيرم بيز يعني. لكن لا لازم احط اول حرف عشان يبتدي يديني التشويس.
Okay, fine. يعني you can yes. يعني it's predicting. هو في كلهم سواء machine translation أو بالCAT tools they have the ability to predict the exact translation, and sometimes they give you options depending on the context this word appears in. So yes, they can give you that option, and once you're happy with that, then you can control and enter, then you can move to the next one. Yeah, I agree with you. Just other questions?
تصور دكتور ما في أسئلة كمان عنا لأنه ما في حدا رافع إيده. لا عنا دكتور حنا مرة ثانية، تفضلي.
يس دكتور حنا. دكتور حنا.
شيماء، تفضلي شيماء.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام.
I am Shaima. I am a senior student in a translation. I have a bachelor degree in a translation, English translation. And I heard about CAT tools terms when I was a sophomore student. And I heard people say that CAT tools doesn't refine the skills, it's just for business and getting money. That's right or wrong?
Hala, we need to move ahead in our translation. For example, as a student, you're a student. You are here to learn, for example. But what is the end state? What's your end state, Yashaima? Why are you, studying translation? You're studying translation in order to, for example, to be a translator, and you need to get a job, right? And then
Yes.
after that, you need to, for example, you either or, you can go to find a job, or you can be in academia. You can study, for example, for the PhD. So either or. فبالنهاية يعني سواء إنه you're training and then these CAT tools, they are very helpful in getting like money at the same time. They're good for business. They are good for business. الآن تعرفي أحكي لك حقيقة يا شيماء عند للجميع طبعا. الآن في شركات تشترط، وأنا هذا الكلام واجهته بعملي، في شركات تشترط اشتراط كامل إنه يكون عندك ترادس مثلا as a requirement for accepting you as a translator. yes, you need to know that. وأنا بصراحة بشجع الجميع إنه we need to know these CAT tools. At least one of them. At least one of them. حتى يكون عندنا فكرة. يعني لازم we are at the age of technology and we are at the age of artificial intelligence, and we need to use that in order to be part of this dynamic world. Have I answered your question, Shaima? Let's move to Sarah and Dr. Hanna.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Can I ask if these CAT tools, it's expensive to get or it's available يعني for its cost?
Well, thank you very much. هلا الكوست تبعهم it depends on the user himself. And I can think of like if you're like a company, it is different from a single like user. You can use that. You can find out about this once you want to download one of these applications. But normally, I would believe $250 like for one copy. This is what I used to do when I was in the States, but I'm not sure about now how much will it cost to download, for example, 2022 Trados or MemoQ. I really don't know about this, about the cost. But for the companies, it will be costly. It will be more. Yeah. Dr. Hanna? Dr. Hanna, Muhammad Abdel Faraj.
Okay, thank you again, Doctor. My question is, can you mention again the technical problems of CAT tool and how we deal with them?
Come on. This is like very detailed question, and يعني بصراحة I'm not gonna answer it like fully. Each one of these, CAT tools, they have advantages and they have disadvantages. Some of them are friendly for users, and some of them are kind of complex. If you're thinking of taking the course, I think you will find out yourself what are the differences between both of them, and what are the advantages and disadvantages for each and every single one of them. But I can tell you easily إنه ميميكيو أسهل نوعا ما من ترادوس لسبب بسيط إنه بترادوس يعني it is highly detailed. It takes you from one step to another, like 8 steps until you start your project. But with mimikyu, simply like 2 clicks, and then you're not, you will be logged into your file. يعني هاي فكرة بسيطة يعني واحد الفروقات البسيطة. But you will find out more if you're intending to take the course. Other questions? Okay.
Okay, there's a question on the chat. How good or bad is the free MajedCat in comparison with Trados?
You mean translation cats? Sorry, machine translation in comparison with Trados?
Maybe.
The question is not clear for me. I don't know what you mean by MajedCat. What's MajedCat? Is it Dean? Yes, I think he's there. Yes, is it Dean?
Please unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening.
Hi.
Good evening.
Yes, actually my question is about the comparison between MajedCat, which is a translation tool, which is for free. And I have no experience with the Trados, and I think it's an expensive software to buy. And that's why I would like to compare how good or bad is MajedCat, which is a free software, with the paid one, I mean Trados.
Thank you for your question again and again and again. You need to be in the course in order to find out what is the best choice for your site.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Actually, my question is basically about is about the accuracy.
About what?
About the accuracy of a translation.
Accuracy. It's you. It is you who is translating. It is you who is translating. الفكرة إنه هم ما بيترجموا إلك الكات tools كلهم. Cat tools, they make your life easier in translation, but they cannot translate for you. هلا أنا بدي أغششكم شغلة بس إن شاء الله رح تاخذوها بالكورس إنه ممكن أنت تستعمل اللي هو الماشين translation in the cat tools, but I do not recommend it. I do not recommend it. المدرب ممكن إنه يعطيكم إياهم, but I do not recommend it. why؟ لأنه ممكن نستعمل الماشين ترانسليشن وندخلها بطريقة البلج إن على التولز اللي احنا بنعملها سواء ترادوس أو ميموكيو. However, I don't recommend it. تمام؟ I don't recommend it. Why? Because we need you to translate. We need you to translate. We need you to build your memory. We need you to build your term base. We need you to use the batch task. تمام؟ This is the point. And after you have after you build like this enormous memory for the files that you're using, then after that, you might use machine translation. You can have these plugins into your machine translation. تمام عز الدين؟ هاي الفكرة بدك تفهمها إنه they do not translate for you. You have to do the translation. Any questions?
Okay, Dr. Hannah writes her question on the chat. To what extent we use the AI applications in the Arab world, artificial intelligence system?
In fact, we're using it a lot. هلا احنا إذا يعني artificial intelligence احنا ما بنستعمله بس بالعرب world, يعني هو بنستعمل في كل العالم, واللغة العربية هي part of this world, and we are using it. But still, we need more input. We need more input from the Arab world in order to make our translation more accurate and more plausible. هاي الفكرة. يعني محتوى العربي على شبكة الإنترنت بشكل عام هو نوعا ما ضئيل, وهذا طبعا بقلل من كفاءة الترجمة خاصة محركات البحث سواء كان بالماشين ترانسليشن أو حتى بالكات تول. فالارتفيشال انتليجنس is fine. أنا بتذكر إنه اشتغلنا على موضوع في مواقع. نعم. If you can, this is a question by Izzuddin. Yes, there are platforms where you can buy and share as well اللي هو translation. Yes, there are. Many people would like to share and many people would like to sell their translation memories. الترانسليشن ميموريز ممكن بتكون بشكل ملفات تختلف عن الملفات العاديه اللي بتختلف ملفات الاكسل او الوورد او الكذا، لهم امتداد خاص فيهم. Yes, many people would love to share like voluntarily and many people would like to sell their translation memories. لانه بعض الاحيان translation memory ممكن يحتوي على around 1 million يعني. Yeah. Other questions?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Majed, for this fruitful presentation. عن جد نحن كثير سعدنا باللقاء فيزيكالي وكفينا هيدا اللقاء مرة ثانية. إن شاء الله لعمل مثمر مثل ما حكينا بالأيام الجاية. مشكور كثير على تلبية الدعوة وشكرا كثير على المحاضرة الرائعة وأكيد مثمرة. شكرا كثير لجميع الحضور ونرجع بنذكر بموضوع الكاتورز اللي حابب يحصل على هيدي السوفت ويرز. نحن بصراحة بالاتحاد كمبادرة ليقدر الواحد أي شخص يقدر يشتغل بالكات تولز إضافة لأنه هو يتعلم كيف يستخدمهم. فنحن فاتحين مجال الدورة ولكن بنفس الوقت عم نقدم سوفت ويرز فور فري. اوكي. ثانك يو لأنكم كنتم من ثانك يو لاهتمامكم و big thanks for Dr. Majed. دكتور رنا, you have a question. It's the last question صراحة لأنه ما بدنا نطول كمان على دكتور ماجد. go on أستاذة رنا.
يعطيك العافية.
الله يعافيك.
يعطيك العافية دكتور. أنا ما عندي سؤال، أنا عندي مداخلة صغيرة قبل ما ننهي. أول شيء بدي أتشكرك أنت يعني على كل هيدي الجهود اللي عم تعمليها لاتحاد المترجمين وكل الموجودين باتحاد المترجمين وخارج اتحاد المترجمين. وبدي أتشكر دكتور ماجد على هيدي الفيري fruitful session. وبدي ضوي بس على الشيء اللي الكل دايما بيسألوه التلاميذ. أول شيء الإنسان يحتاج دايما للتطور ويحتاج إنه يكون up to date بكل شيء. مش معقول يكون أنا professional translator وما عندي فكرة عن التطور يلي عم بيصير حوالي. That's why الكات تولز هي من التطورات اللي كتير مهمة الموجودة حوالينا. كنحن كمترجمين professional translator إذا نحن فعلا بدنا نكون professional مفروض at least نعرف عنها. تاني شيء المفروض نكون ملمين فيها. تاني شغلة ما في شيء بيقدر يحل مكان المترجم أبداً، لأنه المترجم وعقل المترجم هو من خلق الله، بينما الكات تولز هي من خلق الإنسان يلي الله خلقه. That's why شدد كتير الدكتور على فكرة you have to intervene. ما فيني أنا ما أتدخل بالترجمة. هيدا الشيء كتير بيوفر علينا وقت، كتير بيوفر علينا مجهود، كتير بيعطينا يد عون لإلنا مثل ما السيارة صارت مهمة والبلين طيارة صارت مهمة. الكات تولز كتير مهمة بس نحن دايما المفروض نتدخل ويتدخل الكرياتيفيتي تبعتنا يلي الله خلقها فينا طبعا. وبالنسبة للي سألوا عن البروجرامز وعن الترادوس وهودي، اي طبعا نحن فينا نحصل عليهم بس من دون تدريب نحن بنكون عم نعمل دعسه ناقصه. وهيدا الشيء اللي قدم لنا اياه اتحاد المترجمين بكل روعه الحمد لله، انه عطينا حاليا فرصه مع دكتور ماجد انه ومع اتحاد المترجمين انه نحن نحصل على هيدي الدوره ونحصل على هودي البروجرامز فور فري مع الطريقه الصحيحه لنحن نستخدمهم. وبالاخر وهي الاهم انه هودي الكات تولز هن مش هن اللي بيعملوا الترجمه. نحن قد ما بنلقمهم صح، قد ما بنكون كرييتيف بتلقيمهم، قد ما هن راح يكونوا very useful for us. بس حبيت اعطي هيدي المداخله وشكرا للجميع.
شكرا لك استاذه رنا وبرجع بتشكركم جميعا واكيد الشكر الكبير موصول لدكتور ماجد.
Thank you so much. Thank you Ms. Rana. Yes, thank you Ms. رنا وشكرا جزيلا للدكتورة وديان مرتضى على هاي الاستضافة. وأتمنى إنه I hope that everybody has benefited from this like short lecture and hopefully we will meet again soon in the future. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. شكرا هشام، شكرا مستر محمد شاكوش، وشكرا لجميع الموجودين.
شكرا لكم.
شكرا لك دكتور، يعطيكم الف عافية.
عافية عمرك، شكرا.